Oh,
Hi, how are you?
good. How's it going, sir?
It's good, sir. It's good. Very nice. Nice to meet you in person. You've been a big inspiration for us. We've been looking at your videos for a very, very long time now.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot to me. I've really started to love your brand more and more over the years. And especially I've been seeing your guys' posts on social media recently. And you guys have really, I could tell, taken the craft seriously, but also your social media presence. I'm really impressed by your professionality, your presentation, obviously the quality of your boots.
So these two people are behind the idea of. Can you see them both? These two
Yes.
young. She's 23-year-old. He's 25 years old. All the planning and execution behind the social media and everything. So kudos to the team for doing this great job. And
Awesome.
KB's here. KB, yeah.
Hi,
Hey, nice to meet you.
hey Dave. How are you?
Hey, good to meet you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Awesome. So, just to let you know, like it's funny because you two are who I was hoping to talk to when I was organizing this. Because I saw your both of your posts on Instagram, and you guys are talking about, Goodyear welt and the construction method and all that. And I was just blown away. I thought it was a very professional presentation. You guys seem to really be expert at what you do. So it's kind of serendipitous that you're both here right now.
No, so I'll tell you something. I've been following you since you did your first review of your Truman boots in the Black CXL. This
Yeah.
was way back, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. It was
Hmm.
right around the time I think your collection was that pair of Trumans and two Vibergs, one in the color 8, one in a brown CXL. And you had
Wow.
customized the Vibergs with black leather laces, and you let I think guarded good laces, right?
Yes.
And I remember you were walking around in the snow with those Trumans, and you did a
Yes.
video on conditioning them later on with what's the name of that? It's like this company, and I remember you distinctly saying it doesn't have like an oily or petroleum smelling conditioning kit. It has like a orange citrus kind of conditioning kit.
Yes. Armstrongs, all natural.
That's the one. Yep. Yep.
So, well, I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you for watching my videos all the way from India.
I've been watching them for almost a decade, man. I
Wow.
love them.
Well, that truly means the world. Thank you. It's kind of weird being a content creator in a really niche space because I don't know who's watching. That's really amazing because I became a fan of yours. I didn't realize you were a fan of mine.
huge fan.
Yep.
We
Wow.
actually designed all the jackets range and the fit. I used to tell that I want the fit that this guy's having on the jackets. It's really nice. You've got really good fitting jackets and they look really cool. So it was a huge inspiration when we were designing the jackets. I always used to look at your videos, you wearing some really cool leather jackets, and that was a huge inspiration.
Well, thank you. That really means the world to me. Sometimes when I'm making these videos, I don't know who's watching, if anybody's gonna watch. I talked to Nick at Stridewise about this too. Sometimes he'll go across the world and do like what he thinks is gonna be this super viral video, and it gets less views than like a simple like Viberg unboxing, and it's kind of discouraging sometimes. It's kind of difficult to know how to navigate this space. So, hey, we're all in this journey together. We love boots, we love heritage, and we love to share it with people. So I'm just very blessed that you guys are here with me today. Yeah, seriously, I didn't realize it was going to be you two. I thought it was going to be Yezna.
Was
That was
right
a
here.
young lady
She
just with him. Yep.
And I also apologize ahead of time. I did a horrible job scheduling this. It's midnight where I'm at. I've been awake for almost 20 hours, so I might not be as sharp as I normally am, but I'm gonna try my best.
All good. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you guys for being a staple in the market and offering some incredible heritage boots. I did not ever anticipate an Indian company coming into prominence that was offering heritage workwear that, in my opinion, is far better than some of the staples that we have in America, even Red Wing. A few of my friends messaged me like, "Would you say Craft and Glory are as good as Red Wing?" I'm like, they're better. They're better than Red Wing. The patterning, the builds, the materials you select, the veg tan midsoles, like all of it, they're definitely, I think, in my opinion, far more durable and robust than a standard Red Wing. A Red Wing is kind of, they're kind of quickly made. I could tell that you guys put a lot more attention to detail to these, both in the materials but also in the aesthetics. I just really love the look of the aesthetics of these. So I've been gushing over these and the engineers since I got them. So can't can't quit wearing them. Can't quit gushing over them. You guys really killed it on that engineer. Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. The first thing I'd like to ask is I'm not super familiar with your company's history. So you started in 2011, correct?
We actually started in 2017. It's
Okay.
not 11. Back then, it was named Beastcraft. So I am from the mountains, basically. There, so you must have heard of Himalayan mountain range, right?
Hmm.
There is a small town, foothills of Himalayas. It's called Solin. It's very near to the capital, Shimla, and it's a small town. And I've grown up there. We didn't have malls, we didn't have discos. All we could do is go up the mountains, do a little bit of trekking, set up a bonfire, play some guitar. That's how I was raised. We would bunk the school, we'll go to the riverside. So it was full of nature, right? That part was always there in me. I moved out, unfortunately, because of the opportunities that I had to search, education that I had to move out for. But that part still remained. I was always collecting rugged gear which can last for longer and everything, and I couldn't really find anything. So when we couldn't find it, we decided to make these goods, and then I started the brand Beastcraft, and we later in 2021-22 we changed the name to Craft and Glory. We wanted it to appeal to more heritage, handcrafted glory of these goods rather than to being on very ruggedish masculine name. So yeah, that is how we transited from being Beastcraft. We were doing waxed canvas bags, we were doing duffels, backpacks, small goods, belts, and all those things. And then we started doing boots because a lot of customers who bought these bags, they said these are wonderful, but can you also start making some boots? Can you also provide us with Goodyear welted boots, stitch down boots, and all those things? Because they've been traveling across the globe, they've seen really high quality products that are being offered from US and other parts of the world. And they would come back and they would request that, hey guys, if you could start, you have the capabilities, you've got the finishing, you have the contacts in the leather industry, you have the artisans, why don't you start making really high quality footwear as well? And then we said, yeah, that's a good point. Me and KB have been wearing high quality Goodyear heritage style footwear for a very long time. For me, it's been almost 13, 14 years that I have been buying these goods. I think KB has been using such goods for even longer. We decided that it's time to start producing some high quality goods. We assembled a small team of artisans. Ironically, this was being done a lot in India 20, 30 years ago. So before the whole concept of cementing and gluing the outsoles, there were a lot many artisans who were producing hand stitched, hand welted goods right here in India. There are very few, there are very few, but we managed to find some of them. We hired them, we assembled a small team, we spent good 7, 8 months working on our first prototypes. We would spend 15, 20 days just making single piece, then figuring out what's wrong, how can we make it better, and going back to the drawing board again and again. And that's how we came up with all the range slowly, gradually, sent a pair to a customer, took down notes, offered a lot of customizations because we're still learning, right? And people will tell us that, oh, can we do this design? And we always hungry to learn more. We said, yeah, absolutely. That is why you see so many designs on the website because lot many were like customers who designed their own pieces and they said, please make them live. We would want customers, more and more people to have such access. And hence we kept on increasing the designs that we have. And people really compliment for all the range that we have. It's becoming a challenge as we're growing to keep up with all the designs and inventory and everything, but we still want to offer a lot of variety.
Absolutely. I could relate to that on a micro scale. I just run this small leather shop here and I only offer a handful of goods, but staying on top of the supplies, and then making sure the website accurately reflects your inventory, and then filling orders. There's a lot of moving parts that even a simple operation people don't realize. I'm actually glad we had the scheduling error because it allowed me to fill like 5 orders that I was waiting to fill. So I went and did that. You guys have a pretty big team, a considerably well-sized team. That's really awesome about your origin story. Let me ask you this: what was the first boot prototype that you guys made?
Ranger boot.
The
Why I'll tell you. The Ranger
Okay.
boot. So Ranger boot. How does the name came into existence? I have been living in mountains for almost like first 20 years of my life, and we would go a lot to forest. Right. My father was friends with a lot of forest rangers. I would see their boots. I would look at the kind of boots that would wear to go through the forest, and they had this very classic toe cap design
Hmm.
with some command. I was really inspired. I would tell my uncles, "Can I have your boots once you're done?" And he was like, "These are duty shoes boots given by the government, issued to us for the duty. So uh, a well-worn pair, I can give it to you." I had one. Unfortunately, I moved out for studies, and my parents cleaning the house just didn't realize it was important to me, and unfortunately got rid of it. But so I designed a toe cap, which I was really inspired from the forest rangers that they run in Himachal because they're a reserved forest. They need to protect them. KB designed this very boot. The combat boot is brainchild of KB. He'll tell you more about the design. He takes care of all the designs and everything.
Okay.
I am so he's the one who designed. I
Okay.
designed it. KB wasn't part of the team back then, but we were friends for like last 7 years, and he was one of the persons who said, "Rohit, please go ahead start making the boots." So when I tell you about the customers, KB was a customer. He was the
Okay.
customer. Keep on buying belts and backpacks and stuff like that, and he was like, "Rohit, why don't you start making boots? I would love to buy from your brand. The leather is so." And he really pushed me, and then I have been on calls with him on Sundays. That is the day that he was free from his full-time work. And my wife would be like, "You are on Sunday call with a guy who's thousands of kilometers away, and you guys are whole day discussing about the boots." And that was like our Sundays discussing about the boots. And I was like, always, "KB, wish you were here in the team, and we could have made some really awesome."
Yeah.
And KB comes from a finance background, and then he was
Okay.
like, "Dude, this is my dream too. I would love to join the DK." And thankfully that happened, and he came on board. He really started designing some really amazing. So that is how me and KP.
Very cool. Okay. Well, KB, I'm very curious about your story and how you were involved in this. So thank you, Rohit, for, kind of giving a little bit of the backstory there. So you're primarily involved with like the design and the patterning, or?
So the best way to describe my job is I try to do whatever I can. I like to design boots. I really like to design boots. I like to design shoes. But in terms of job description, I think both of us, we don't have a job description because in a startup, you're kind of running around like a headless chicken most of the time trying to get everything done.
Yes.
But my story is actually a little different. So my wife, who's actually from central Pennsylvania, she,
Really?
yeah.
That's where I grew up.
Yeah, so I went to school in the States, right? I went to school and grad school in the States. I met her there, and
Okay.
she now lives with me in India. She's been collecting Doc Martens since she was 12 or 13, right?
Okay.
So I never really was fascinated with boots. I mean, I used to wear those typical 20 or $30 Brahma boots you can get from Walmart as a college student because I was broke, and most of us are broke as college students. Then one trip to the States, I said, you know what? I'm going to try out these Doc Martens and see what they're all about. So I bought my first pair. And that's when I started discovering Style Forum, all the Reddits and subreddits, and I went completely down the deep end. That's when I discovered your YouTube channel as well. So,
Got it.
I became friends with this one cobbler who used to work at Drew's and a guy called Chad, if I'm not wrong. And he then moved to Truman Boots. So, we used to discuss boots and construction and stuff all the time. I've had conversations with Lars from Osmo Boots every now and then. He's a very generous guy. I've had conversations with Bob Henderson again on Instagram. He's a very generous guy with his time, and that kind of opened my perspective on boots. And it's been a black hole of a money pit for the last 15 years, right? Because you can't just have one. You have to keep on buying. I mean, look behind you, right? That's so.
I don't know
So
what you're talking about. I have
exactly.
no idea what you're talking about right now.
So I eventually got tired of buying and having to import these things. It's a long and lengthy process, and it's just a pain in the backside. And I started Googling high quality leather goods in India, and that's when I discovered Beastcraft. So I was like, oh, I don't know, I was skeptical. So I ordered a little dop kit, a wax canvas dop kit. It arrived, and I loved it. I still have it. I still use it to this day, right?
Really? Okay.
And I have
Cool.
abused the living daylights out of that thing, and it just keeps coming back. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a plunge. I'm gonna buy some more stuff. So my next order just went up exponentially. I bought, I think, 4 or 5 belts, a pencil case, a bunch of other stuff, and then I messaged them on Instagram. Just say I love the products. Can you tell me more about what you guys do? And the person who was running customer service responded, and they were very nice. And I said, "Oh, what's your name? I'd like to leave a good review and mention." And they said, "My name's Rohit." And I'm like, "Aren't you the founder of the company?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why are you doing customer service?" He's like, "Because, it's a small company, blah, blah." And that's how the
Well,
friendship began. And that's how we used to talk on Sundays every couple of months about designs and this, that, and the other. And I
Okay.
recall simply last year at one point when I was still working my last job, which I was in mergers and acquisition. He said that, I have a goal to make the best boots in the world. That is like the ambition. And that was a clicking point for me. I've spent almost 20 years working in finance, and it's had its ups and downs. And I thought, you know what? I'm hitting that sort of midlife point. Let's make a change and see what the next 20. And I just am, extremely grateful and blessed that I was able to join the team and be a part of this company and be a part of the story. And I absolutely love what I do. Yeah, so that's pretty much how I came on board. But yes, the short answer to your question is yes, I like to help out with designing when and where I can.
Very cool. Well, I'm blown away by your guys' recent trajectory. I watch a lot of companies, they sort of start and then they start developing new patterns and stuff, and it's like it starts to get kind of questionable. I remember when Mark Albert, they shut down now, but they immediately went from like a standard plain toe to a cap toe, and then they started getting into wingtips, and it just kind of felt a little disjointed. But like your guys' trajectory has been like, I feel like very clean and very informed. Like you said, you're on Style Forum. That's also where I got my start, and it's so funny. Actually, I'll take it back a few more notches. It's funny how small seeds grow into trees. My buddy Mark Bradshaw, the first review I did for you guys was he loaned his pair of Craft and Glories to me. He's the one who introduced me to you guys. And he's just a dude that like watches my channel, and he lives near me here in Maryland. And we meet up for breakfast sometimes, and he's like, "Here, review these." And I'm like, "Yeah, these are sweet. Whoa. How much did they cost?" $220? Seriously, for these? I couldn't believe it the first time he showed them to me. I'm like, I can't believe the cost on these, how low it is for what you're getting. This is like superior to a Red Wing easily, and then far less expensive. I just couldn't believe the value I had in my hands. At that point, I was used to buying from Indonesia, and they're charging $500, $700, $800 for premium leathers. So when I saw your stuff and it's like in the $200 range, it just blew my mind. So shout out to Mark. I also need to real quick, for the sake of nostalgia, grab these Trumans that you just talked about.
Yep, yep.
Still got them. They're still going strong. Haven't worn them
Wow.
in a few years, but there they are. So
See.
yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. I really commend your company's trajectory with your builds, because you do the cap toes, you do the plain toes, you also do the belts and bags, very impressive looking bags. But it didn't take you long to get into the hiker boots, the hike boot, and then it didn't take you long, especially once a company starts doing engineers. In my opinion, they've graduated. They're like sort of some cum laude graduates, of bootmakers at that point. Once you crank out a good engineer, and in my opinion, that's when you're sort of like on the road to mastery. And even, Truman Boots, who I love and support for many years, they still haven't done an engineer. I would have thought they would have done an engineer, 5 years ago, and they still haven't done it. They still kind of stick to their base builds, and there's nothing wrong with that. But point being is like, I'm impressed by the growth and the decision making coming out on on your social media and on your website, the decision making to expand into the really unique builds. And especially when I saw this combat boot, I'm like, okay, that's badass. I never had a knife sheath on a boot before. That called my name right there. I'm like, I have, a billion cap toes, but I've never had a legit combat boot with a knife sheath. Yeah, kudos to you guys. I mean, I could tell there's a lot of knowledge behind what you're doing. And so that's why I'm really just honored to have you guys on today to be able to pick your brain. I don't just look at the boots. I kind of look at the brand, and my favorite part of all this is getting to know the people behind the scenes. So thank you for coming on with me today. This is great. Before we continue, I went and I messaged a few of my friends and asked, I gathered up some questions. I have my own. I asked a few of my enthusiast friends if they had questions for you guys. Talking about Mark, he asked, a lot of US boot brands know each other. So his question would be, do you guys know any other Indian makers, and do you guys ever collaborate or cooperate with each other? I know that, Nick at Stridewise, he came to India and he kind of toured some of the other Indian boot and shoemakers. Do you guys ever work with them, or do you ever do collabs with each other? Or is it kind of like you just focus on your own operation?
Honestly, the way I would put it is we know of the other brands in the market, but it's a big country, right?
Yeah.
And there's not
No, I thought you guys were tiny, right? You're like you have like a population of like 10,000, I thought, right? Or
maybe in an apartment building, but but
sorry, go ahead.
but so it's a really big market, and I think the entire heritage space is relatively new, right?
Yeah.
So most of the brands are kind of taking their own approach to footwear. There's great brands out there, right? I tip my hat to many of them. I think they're doing extremely interesting work. I think many of them make a fantastic product. But the way that brands, let's say, would collaborate, like you have Fortis and Caswell collaborating on a bunch of stuff. You have that doesn't really tend to happen because there's no real sort of overlap on this heritage as such, right?
Okay.
You find a lot more overlap in, let's say, the formal segment, the dress boot segment, stuff like that. But as concerns heritage wear, slightly more rugged style, I don't see too many analogs to us out there yet. It would be great if there are more people out there because that means the market's growing, consumers are adopting it faster. There's it's doing well. But as of now, I don't see any, and it's not something I've even seen amongst the formal brands. Everyone kind of tends to stay in their lane and do their own thing.
You're right about that. I looked at some of the other Indian brands, and frankly, like they're all doing something kind of unique and kind of niche. You guys are really like sort of catering to I would say perfectly to the American market. Like these are boots that when I see these, I'm like drooling over them, especially when I see it in waxed buffalo saddle tan leather. I am a leather freak. I'd say I'm beyond leather nerd. There's like leather enthusiast, and then there's like leather freak. I'm definitely in the leather freak category. And when I look at this stuff, it's unlike anything that any American tannery makes. So I really got to ask some questions. First question, we'll keep it simple. Where do you get the waxed buffalo leather from?
So we have tannery partners who Rohit has worked with for 8, 9+ years, right? And I think the wonderful thing about our channel partners, especially our upstream tannery channel partners, is we've developed each one of these tanneries from scratch.
Oh, really?
So aren't really commercially available. It's not like going to, let's say, a retailer and picking up a Wicked and Craig double stuff or a Horween CXL or a Shinky shell, right? Which is already branded, established, has global recognition and a fan base. For us, every single leather we've developed and used has been developed through months of iterations and multiple, samples being made, multiple boots being made, some that have failed, some that have been enormously successful in the testing phase. And it's after that we've locked down a formula with our channel partner. And then we start ordering. So the saddle tan, the vintage brown, the raven black, these have all been products that are not off the shelf, but are sort of the brainchild of our founder, who will be extremely modest about the kind of work he had to put in to get this stuff developed.
Really?
But it's the same way that we've partnered with the tannery to develop our Storm Shield 44 leather that we use in our Himalayan collection, right? The number of tests the both of us have done on that leather, making little leather kind of water bottle type things and pouring water into it, and literally having a timer there, counting how long it takes before leather goes through, then giving the feedback to the tannery, getting another hide. The hide works, but the color doesn't work. Then getting another one, the color works, but the hide, I mean, it's been back and forth and back. So it takes a really long time. So that's kind of how these leathers come to be. I wish it was faster. It would mean a faster product life cycle. I could experiment a lot more with designs and patterns, but it takes as long as it takes. And that's true for our outsoles as well.
Okay.
Every component that we get, we've had to go through multiple iterations with our channel partners, whether that's eyelets, whether that's hooks, laces, insoles, inserts, thread. Everything is kind of, you have to keep testing it, going back, retesting it, going back, retesting it, going back. That's pretty much how the leather comes to be.
Okay, that is amazing. That's the explanation I've been looking for since I started this channel. So thank you. I couldn't have asked for a better explanation there. Sometimes I ask bootmakers, why'd you pick this leather? They don't really have a good answer. It's either from Charles F. Stead or Horween, and it's probably just because they get the samples, and I get the samples too. Stack of samples here, in fact. And yeah, I could kind of understand the process a little bit. You get this little book, and then you sort of comb through it, and you say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to make a bag out of that," but a bag out of that might suck, But that's the tannery doing on the back end, whereas you guys were actually doing it working directly with the tannery, which is unreal. So I have to ask this question. It might be a little juvenile, but did you wrap a guy in the leather and set him on fire?
No, that's never happened.
Okay.
So at least since I've joined the company, I've never witnessed nor encouraged that type of behavior. And I do not think the company in its official or unofficial stance does encourage or will ever encourage that type of behavior.
Oh, okay. Well, how about have you even just tried to set the leather on fire without a human inside, I guess?
Have we ever set leather on? I've
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Have you ever set leather on fire, Rohit?
Yeah. We've done it multiple times. We have a video coming around it. So yes,
Okay.
we've done that a lot of times. Yeah, and there's going to be a video out there how you can like identify the EU and all those stuff. So we've done that.
Awesome.
But what many people do not realize is that India is a huge exporter of meat products. The byproduct of that meat industry is the leather skin, right? So there are so many tanneries available in India, and there are so many exporters of really big brands. People think it's Italy where they lead the market. That is true for very high quality leather, but it's also India. And a lot of Italian products are also made in India, stamped there in Italy and the world. So India has got a huge leather industry. What it lacks is having brands which directly sell to consumers. And if you go to an Indian tannery, they're super excited. They are ready to try and experiment. Why? This has been a case for them. For example, there is a US brand coming in and they tell that they want this leather to be specifically look like this, have these characteristics and last this long and everything. So they are used to developing letters every. It's not that they've got their own booklet and you can go scroll through it and choose a product and tell them to make this. They actually do the work. They try and meet all the requirements that you have. So, for example, for Storm Shield 44, we made 44 iterations and combinations of different waxes, leather proofing, waterproofing for the leather and everything, and how we wanted it to be full grain with a Newberg kind of a leather and still be waterproof, still be able to use both sides of the leather so that we could use the rough outside as well as the grain side. Yep, more different types of leathers before zero down on the last one that we felt was perfect for our collection. So Indian tanneries are like ready to go and try and achieve whatever you want. Yep, Grizzly in Moscow.
Amazing. When I was looking at that, it really conjured up images for me of Horween chamois. That's what it kind of looks like. It looks like a heavily oiled rough out and just gnarly, beautiful. And I could tell it's very weather resistant. So you guys did an outstanding job on that. Anybody watching, check out the Craft and Glory's new Himalayan collection, particularly These are my favorite. The grizzly green water repellent pair right there. Those are bangers right
This
there.
collection is close to my heart because I'm from Himalayas and I really made this collection to honor where I'm from and how I. So this is really close to my heart, and I really worked hard. KB really worked hard with it. I really wanted it to look rugged, ready to go, and win any kind of terrain kind of a. So that we have it here, and it's done pretty well. We went crossed rivers, climbed mountains, and everything. So I'm very happy and impressed with the outcome. We did a 360-degree stitch down, double row stitching and everything. That was all KB side for this kind of construction method because it repels, like it doesn't allow to bottom at all. So a lot of prototypes, a lot of having a fish, what do you call that? Fish aquarium kind of a thing, dipping the food and trial. Like it took us 8 to 9 months to come up with this kind of a construction style leather. Even the lining is water repellent. I wouldn't say leather is 100%, but water repellent for up to 60 minutes. So yeah, a lot of hard work. So it's easier to go out in the market, pick up branded components. They're great, by the way. These standard brands have spent decades perfecting what they do, but it's not challenge. Easier for me to just order a branded outsole, a branded leather component, build a boot and sell it out. It's a challenge to develop your own tannage, your own liking, layers of waxes that you want on it, how the outcome you want to be. So everything that you do, it should be challenging. Then you feel truly satisfied that you did something from ground up. You didn't really just purchase really high quality stuff and made a boot. You really worked hard on developing high quality stuff and then use it from ground.
I see. That is amazing. I had no clue you guys were actually behind the scenes doing all this research and development. So I have to ask another really juvenile question. So in water testing that leather, did you create, actually, could I put in a custom order for a scuba suit made out of that leather and then I'll just wear that for diving? Is that something I'll be the test dummy for
Put it
that?
in. I'm just not sure whether you'd get much mobility out of it. You may be able to squeeze yourself in, but getting yourself out could be difficult. I mean, you remember that episode of Friends where Ross tries on the leather pants and
Yeah.
then he can't put them back on?
Yes.
You don't want to end up in a situation like that.
That's true.
But
I
but
would.
but coming back to the Himalayan collection, I think what really cannot be stated enough. We can only experiment and keep on trying and testing and failing because as a founder, he's absolutely okay with it, right? The number of failed experiments I've done in the workshop, right? The
Mhm.
number of times I've broken stuff, right? I have, literally, I've almost broken my thumb on a grinding wheel a couple of times. I've bent buckles accidentally, right? I've done all sorts of crazy stuff. And he's so encouraging and he's so open-minded about doing this type of stuff. Like the number of times we've tried different midsoles before we found the right rubber midsole that is keeping the water out. The number of times we tried different patterns. I mean, it would be extremely easy for us to drop the SPI on the upper to
Mhm.
let's say 4 per inch, reducing the number of holes. But I've been chasing this vintage high SPI look for a while, and we're getting there. It's little incremental changes and improvement. And he's been completely supportive, even though that makes the job of making the boot water repellent a lot harder, right? Without his support, wouldn't be able to do it at all.
Wow, that's incredible. It's very inspiring that you're willing to fail and keep going, and not only that, to fail and to maybe know that this isn't going to work, but try it anyways, just to troubleshoot, to eventually get to a pattern that work for its intended purpose. So hats off to you guys for putting in all that work. I mean, I've seen lesser workshops just crank out patterns that they have that were handed to them and leathers that were handed to them, and there's no sort of testing involved. I joke about the fire and the diving and all that but it seems like you guys are actually doing some stress tests on these materials, so
Absolutely.
that's amazing. And you're actually in the workshop working with the machines as well, trying to get the build just right, get the nuances just right. And that's only something that somebody like you guys that are actually, you're losing a lot of time and money during the trial and error phase, but the end result sort of speaks for itself. So I think the audience watching should really appreciate, these guys, that they've put all this effort into these builds. Thank you guys for explaining step by step the in-depth details, because this is the stuff I love to hear about. I love hearing it from the minds of the makers themselves because I get questions, pop up in my head and I don't always get answers, but today I'm getting some very good answers. So thank you. So let's talk about this engineer here because my mind is just blown. On the first go of it, you guys really just wait, sorry, this is your 2.0.
Yes.
But this is, I mean, I think you really just nailed the design. The toe isn't overly unstructured to where it's going to collapse, similar to like, a John Lofgren or a flathead, which is very classic design. This, if I was going to build an engineer, it'd look a lot like this. I like a structured toe engineer. I still like these. I appreciate these, absolutely. But if I were to make one, I think the end result would look something more approximating this. So what was it like building out the pattern for this engineer specifically, say?
Rohit, do you want to start and I'll add?
I mean, man, you take care of the design.
Okay. So we already had an engineer that we had launched, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago. And that was done sort of more as a yes, there
This
she
is the one
goes.
that we had.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So that was done. I think the first time we ever prototyped one was actually at the request of a customer. And the way I describe both our engineers for people who are familiar with the P&W boot brands is the first one reminds me a lot of a Wesco Boss in terms of its profile, the way it sits, the chunkiness of the toe, the heavy commando lug sole. And the second one reminds me a lot more of the Mr. Lou. It's a little slimmer, a little sleeker, a little more vintagey looking in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can see side by side, they're both very vintage looking, but vintage from different eras. So the chunky one is much more like a 60s, 70s kind of biker oriented engineer, whereas the Engineer 2.0 is a much more 30s and 40s railroad construction, industrial workwear kind of engineer. So in terms of patterning the engineer, so this is a boot that takes the longest time in my mind, along with our long wing brogue to build, because we don't use a crimping machine or a crimping board for the vamp.
Yeah.
So we have to pattern it and stitch it. And when you're cutting those large panels from a hide, you have to be so OCD about where you're choosing the panel from because they have to match.
Yes.
Because water buffaloes are not cows, right? They're a different species altogether. Their skin tends to have a lot more grain characteristic. I think you've described it in a video as being a lot like kudu. And I agree with you completely. It does have a lot of the same grain characteristics, scars, scuffs, follicle marks, just like kudu. So when you're, especially for engineers, because the panels are so big, the clicking and grading of the hide has to be done extremely carefully because even within the same hide, there is quite a bit of variation because the skin absorbs the same tannins and oils and waxes differentially across the hide of the animal. So patterning it, what we were looking at was just old 1930s, 1940s types of designs. And of course, a lot of these did come out of the Pacific Northwest. We were looking to, I would say, history when it came to making the boot. And while a lot of people aren't fond of the hardware we've used, I know some people say the buckle's too big. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I've got a personal pair of engineers that are Japanese that have a much smaller buckle, and it looks great. But trust me, when you have a small buckle and you're trying to tighten the loop, it's extremely difficult and cumbersome. What I love about the big buckle is how easy it is to just slide it on, slide it off, get it on, get it off. So because an engineer is almost a novel concept for the Indian market, we wanted to reduce the points of intervention that a customer would have to face to acclimate to it, which is why in our Goodyear welted version, what we've done is we've used a thicker than normal ridge sole, right? Which is, I would guesstimate that sole's 9, almost 10 millimeters thick. So the advantage of this is it removes, while we still have a 5 millimeter lasting border insole, that's veg tan, which your foot rests on, by removing the midsole, the break-in becomes just a little bit easier. The same way a lot of boondockers don't have a midsole, they're welted directly onto the outsole.
Yeah. Yes. I think these Oakstreets, maybe I shouldn't talk about Oakstreet right now, but
Yep. So similar to that, it's welted directly onto the outsole, so the break-in's easier. What was important for us to keep was the logger style heel. Because not only did we design the last to have that heel drop, but it's also something that's not very common in the Indian market. So we wanted to be able to offer something that's a little different to people. So it stands out. So that's the story behind the Engineer 2.0.
Awesome. And I gotta say, anybody hating on this hardware, when I make a bag, I'm putting big chunky buckles on that thing. I've never understood guys that like little dainty watches and little dainty accessories. I like chunky stuff. I like
Yep.
my leather cuffs. I like them to be, thick. I like my belts to be thick. I like my boots to have thick leather, thick hardware. To me, that's, a manly attribute. And that's what I champion, have always championed. I've been very consistent on that. These Eastmans, just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, like the buckles are small. They're quite lightweight, they're dainty, and there's nothing wrong with that. But getting into them in the morning and fastening them, it's kind of a pain in the butt. Whereas these engineers, there's no guesswork. You slide that thing through, you fasten it, because I'm not just interested in only the aesthetic. I'm also interested in how I interact with the item, and when it makes me feel more manly when I have bigger buckles, bigger straps to work with. My bags, I like, I think people see the strap and they see how thick it is and they're like, where'd you get that? And that's always a good compliment. I like just bigger things. I've always liked chunkier watches too.
Yep.
It's just how I prefer to select my aesthetics. So I don't think there's anything wrong with these buckles. If anything, I'd prefer they were, 5 times bigger. No, just kidding.
So the idea for the larger buckle was that a person should be able to, do it up without having to look at it. It should just be, it should be tactile enough and easy enough to manipulate with just one hand, that you don't need to kind of fidget with both hands, because then it's cumbersome. You may love wearing it and you may want to wear it, but the cumbersomeness of putting it on starts pushing you more towards something else, which defeats the purpose of trying to get people into heritage, right? You want to take away the pain points and make it as user-friendly as possible.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Just to piggyback off that point, I think guys want to feel manly. That's why they would gravitate towards something like this to begin with. A guy that's going to gravitate towards an engineer, he's probably not a sneaker guy, necessarily, or into like refined, the Italian lasts, the really narrow lasts. Like that's never been my thing. That look has always been my thing. I like chunky, and I like my stuff to look manly, to feel manly, not only when I'm wearing them, walking in them, stepping in them, but also when I'm fastening them up. I think you guys nailed the design on that. Kudos on the engineer. Really happy to see you guys doing engineers. I want a collection of, 50 engineers. And so these have been getting a lot of love this week. And especially the biggest surprise of this engineer is how beautiful the shaft is collapsed. I wore them again since I posted the video, and look at that thing. That is gnarly. Awesome. I just can't get over how beautiful that patina is right there. When these started out, the shafts were pretty, opulent and straight. And now I just love how they collapse and just they're looking like truly mine. Contrast that with a finer leather, like a thinner, more buttery leather on these Eastmans. And, there's a little bit of collapse, but not like this. This is like dramatic. I love it. I like my patina to be loud, just like I like the boot to be loud. So you guys really nailed it with this leather. Speaking of this leather in particular, I wanted to ask, from the minds of the makers, now that I got you here, I have to ask this question. So I learned this in elementary school. In India, they worship the cow. All very generic stuff we learn in America. They worship the cow. Yes. Kill a cow or slaughter a cow. You could face the death penalty. I don't know if that's true, but in India, there's a very big stigma against killing cows, harming cows of any kind. So from your perspective, I want to hear it from you guys. What's the deal with selecting water buffalo over cow?
So believe it or not, India is probably one of the largest exporters of beef, right? That is a statistic. I'm not just making that up. That is a factual statistic. But here's where we stand. So you can get cow leather, right, in India, but the species of cow and the way they've been bred has been mostly for dairy, for milk. So their hides tend to be a lot thinner and have less character. Whereas the water buffalo, the domesticated Asiatic water buffalo, branched off from the wild version only about 6,000 or 8,000 years ago. Now, if you think about it, dogs branched off from wolves about 50,000. So
Yeah.
there's a lot more of that wild character that you find in the domesticated Asiatic or Indian water buffalo. And they are beasts of burden, right? They don't have enough sweat glands in their body, which is why they wallow in shallow mudflats and in rivers and water bodies. So their skin tends to be very resilient against water. And because they've been used as beasts of burden for 5,000-6,000 years, almost as long as civilization's been in the country, their skins have hardened and toughened to bear load and to be able to do all the farm work and load-bearing work that they've been asked to do. So we intentionally chose water buffalo because we wanted something that has a lot of character. We wanted something that we can get at that 5 to 7 ounce, sometimes 8 to 9 ounce thickness, depending on the product that we're trying to make. And we wanted something that once it's tan, that's the wild one. Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So once
Yep.
yeah, so that
The
makes
wild
a
one.
lot of sense.
Yep. And yeah, those things are dangerous. The domesticated ones are quite friendly.
Okay, cool. So don't
Yeah.
try to pet one of these when I'm in India.
No, 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 no.
Gotcha.
I mean, you find YouTube videos, nature videos of big cats taking them down, and at the same time, you'll see YouTube videos of these things just flipping a lion or tiger over their head
Whoa.
when they're in a bad mood. So yeah, you don't want to get in the bad side of one of those things.
He is
Yep.
most definitely in a bad mood.
Yep. So their hides tend to be thicker, have a beautiful grain pattern. All the follicle marks, all the scars, scabs, bite marks that they've had during their life translates into the full grain hide. Because one thing that Rohit has set as a standard from the day he began the company was the leather has to be full grain, uncorrected full grain. Every scar, scratch, bite mark, follicle mark shows up in the finished product because that is the character we're trying to portray. That gives us something different, something unique. So the choice of water buffalo was actually intentional. We're glad to have patrons and folks like yourself who are so deep in this sector appreciate the water buffalo and the leather for its natural variation, all those little marks that you see, because it is in a way quite unique.
Oh yeah. It's similar to a kudu in the way that, you know, the follicle marks are there and it's a wild looking hide.
Yep.
But at the same time, I gotta say it's incredibly consistent. At least that's your clicking skills as well coming into play. If you've never had water buffalo leather before, it's a different thing. It's different from cow. It's different from horse altogether. It's got its own unique properties. We could do our best to try to describe it, but if you've never had it yourself, then you won't truly know. You don't truly know a leather until you've hit it yourself, I think. And talking about your clicking, so just to give an example, this is a piece of some Tuscanello Mariam horse rump. Right here is an example of a bad area that you would not want to select. You know, if you're building a boot out of it, it's sort of inconsistent. It's got wrinkles here. This is probably an armpit area. I don't know. It's not exactly ideal. Whereas you come to another area like right here, it's very smooth, consistent, and so this would be a good area to select. I think that's one thing I try to convey is like the clicking process, you know, like right here also, this is not ideal. You see there's like I could almost see through it. There's almost like a slash right here, really deep wrinkle, compromised area. So the skill of the craftsman cannot be overstated, that when they're looking at the hide, they got to navigate, like there's some good ground here and there's some bad. And so when you're getting a big panel like that, like I just clicked out some extra long kilties out of this Tuscanello to send off to a customer, and I almost had to order a new hide. Like I'm like, this is going to be very difficult to get this huge shape, one consistent cut. So thankfully I had just last bit enough to be.
It's one thing if it's coming from a content creator, but you being a maker yourself, it's a huge thing that you're telling all people. That it's a great product coming from a maker is something that, thank you. As a maker, you understand what all nuances are there. And how do you cut a hide? How do you identify a good, and you telling it's a good product is kind of an honor.
Right. I kind of realized, thank you. By the way, I kind of realized early on that if I don't actually start working with leather, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I could give my observations, but until I actually start cutting into leather and understanding how that process works, I needed to establish a little bit more credibility. That's why I wanted to start working with leather, and I try to be very transparent about that. Like, I'm an enthusiast, but I want to get my hands dirty so that I could speak with a little bit more authority on these things. And yeah, sometimes having a hide on hand really works, and that's why I always encourage people. If you love leather, start leather working. Start making simple things. And it's always so great to see friends of mine that order a hide, order some tools, and they start trying to tinker around. That's really where the magic is. Just trying to take it, into your own hands. I still haven't tried to make a boot yet. I'm not at your guys' level quite yet, but I'm trying to get there.
Have fun.
I'm sure you will.
Coming over and we'll sit down and last a pair and do. KB is like he's the mad scientist in the workshop, and he's roaming around, and all the workers are like looking at him that what he's gonna tell us to do now. Stitch down, increase the SPI, do all sort of things. Let's find a thicker midsole. Let's do all sorts. I think it's going to be a great moment when you're here and we're actually working on it together.
That's so true. Another thing I wanted to touch on is when I bring up your website, it says orders under $800 will not be charged tariffs. So that's one thing that a lot of customers have concerns with. I'm trying to help where I can to allay those concerns. It's like, if you order $200-300 pair from you guys, as an American, you're not going to get charged tariffs. Don't freak out about that. It's very easy to get an order under $800 through Craft and Glory. So your prices are extraordinarily affordable for what you're getting. Yeah, anybody worried about that, cast those concerns to the wayside, I would say. One thing I did want to ask, and this is off topic, but KB, how much do you bench?
That's my question as well. He never tells.
I honestly haven't benched in so long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think the last time I did something similar to a bench was probably on a machine chest press. It was maybe about 310 or 320 for 5 or 6 reps.
Wow.
But you have people throwing up 400, 500, 600 pounds. So yeah, I'm happy as long as my body can keep doing it, I'm happy to keep doing it. But...
Right, absolutely. I just noticed, I'm also a into men's health, and so you kind of got the guns going on. So I was just curious routine over there. I'm always picking Nick at Stridewise's brain because he's down to like, I don't know, 0.5% of body fat, and he walks around with like 150 pounds on his back and all. So I'm always curious, in this space. We love the boots, but we also want to help our bodies to look their best as well. So it's just something I like to throw out there sometimes.
I think that's one thing both of us have found in this space is that people who tend to appreciate this style of footwear tend to like knives, watches, good jeans, good jackets. And I think that's a perfect segue for our founder to just maybe share some stuff with.
Absolutely.
So we recently launched a range of waxed Cowboy denim jackets.
Nice.
Again, these aren't really available in India, and we've been working with waxed canvas bags for a very long time. We had the suppliers in place, quality, we know how to work with the materials. So we thought, why not? We did a round of leather jackets last year, and they did pretty well. So then we decided that maybe we should come up with the range of jackets, because people ask us, you're doing footwears, and how do you get into jackets, and you're still doing bags? I say that we are into heritage workwear. We love creating stuff which would last for a very long time, things which would patina beautifully. So that's we love boots. That's our core. We love footwear, but we also happen to create a lot of cool stuff around jackets and all this. I'd love to see you. Can you catch it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the designs that we did last year. It's a buco head. So it's inspired from, or it's a Johnny jacket. I cannot see here clearly. But yeah, all the designs are inspired from the design that there were a couple of decades ago when things were made to last. Yeah, that's another design that we did. We tried to stay true to how they were built. The quality of the leather, it's still, again, water buffalo in most of the leather. The black one is water buffalo. The brown one is cow leather, waxed oil. We just launched these for our community. These are wax canvas. It's a super thick, 12 ounces pre-wax wax canvas. So this is a bare brown that we launched. A chore jacket that we have. We have a similar one in leather as well. If you scroll through the website, you'll see a chore jacket done in leather. This is the wax canvas version, and this is our cabin jacket. So both leather collars, there are zippers, YKK, snap buttons, brass. This is field tan. We're quite excited for people. I've been asking for them, and we find it. So all the things that Patina well, wax canvas, selvage denim, boots, leather goods, and all. So we're really a heritage brand inspired from military as well as heritage workwear. And we love playing with designs. It's not that we wanted to design 5 designs in boots and keep on selling them for years and years. We really wanted and are doing so. We really want to,
Yep.
That's wow.
Yeah. We just launched.
Okay.
Great response. 140, 50 within like 2 hours. So that was crazy response. We have a community, a boot club on a WhatsApp, as a WhatsApp group. So we have almost about 850 members on the group, and they're all your fans, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, Gail, I know you love Java wax, right? Now,
Yeah.
yep. So right in front of him, what Rohit's got there is exactly what we were talking about. That's a prototype wax flesh leather that he's been testing out
No kidding.
quite some time. Yep.
My go-to boot. I've been wearing this for 2 years.
Whoa.
2 years of almost everyday usage. This is wax rough out, all green leather on the inside, all wax the outside, and it's been almost 2 years. We developed this with our tannery, and we always test our leathers. We do an intensive 4-6 months of testing before we launch. We have people who help us, customers who have signed up for a testing round. We send out goods to 50 odd people so that they can test the design, the comfort and everything. And then after getting a fee, we launch our product.
That's amazing. You guys are really I mean, the range of products that you guys offer. I didn't even realize you did jackets until just now. That's really cool. I've been following your boots and your
office, man. A screenshot from your videos and be like with my addition. This is the that we're trying to.
I'm really impressed, especially by the motorcycle style, how it's tapered. That to me is what I'm always looking for, is that nice clean taper, and you guys nailed it with that. And I see, yeah, you have a trucker type 2 leather jackets, field jackets. Yeah, they're all looking amazing. Good job on that. I mean, normally it's hard enough for a company just to do boots, but you guys are doing just incredible. When I say your backpacks, I said you guys are after my own heart. Like, these are, I looked high and low probably, I don't know, 5 years ago for a good leather backpack, and there's not a lot of makers making leather backpacks. I had to find one on Etsy. I still have it here. They call it the hipster backpack. She closed down her shop, so she's no longer operating. And so I sort of based some of my design off of this. Yeah, you guys are doing very similar things. I really love the look of the heritage backpack. That I would say that's similar to my Scout. Oh, nice. That's beautiful. Wow. Look at that thing. Incredible.
From a military bag that was a British, KB would tell you more about the design process.
Wow.
I was visiting my in-laws in the States a couple of months back, and I just kind of went a little overboard with my eBay shopping. My love for heritage had me kind of jump down the rabbit hole of companies like Endicott Johnson, International Shoe Company, H.H. Brown, all these guys who are, unfortunately, many of them are out of business. But I try to shore up as much stuff as I could because I love the patterns, I love the designs. Now, I'm not going to give anything away about any new stuff coming out, but I will say I have been breaking in these 1950s Canadian parade boots, and I'm going to bring them into the shop when I visit next week, and just get a little bit of work done to the outsole, and then just continue to break them in. But yeah, so I picked up a pair of these. There's a pair of, I believe, M51 combat boots that are with Rohit yep, those are them right there.
Whoa.
Yep, I've got a pair of M67s at home and M48s at home, and I've also got a civilian issue M43 double buckle. So I've been looking at a lot of these things for inspiration for some new product development that's already underway and probably gonna start launching by the before the end of the financial. So our Indian financial year starts on the 1st of April and ends on the 31st of March. So before March 31st, 26, hopefully we'll get some of this new stuff out. I am extremely excited to keep playing, making prototypes. It drives everyone up the wall. Every time I start prototyping. It's fun. Yep, there's a pair of cat's paws right there.
Oh, you got cat's paws.
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin of Caswell loves the cat's paw.
I mean, so even with that, even with outsole and heel development, what we've tried to do is get our hands on as much vintage stuff as possible. Pick up design elements that we like and love and modernize them to fit our brand, our style, and then find the right manufacturer who can make it to the quality and standard that we want, and then roll ahead. So without giving too much away, all I'll say is in the future, you'll see products with a lot of inspiration from Cat's Paw, Built Right, Slipknot, not the band, the heel manufacturer, H.H. Brown, and Endicott Johnson.
Wow, you guys do your homework. I love it. That's commendable right there. I've been into the historical deep dives recently. In fact, I have some bags I haven't reviewed yet, World War II era backpacks. I really love when a maker does that type of research. If you want to know how to actually do historical research, by the way, you go on eBay and you can buy anything. I'm talking, I was just on eBay yesterday and I'm not kidding. I found a Crusader ring from it's like 1,000 years old. It's just unreal what you'll find on there. You can buy
fossils. You have entire fossils. You can buy an entire mosasaur fossil on eBay if you want.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Forget about going to a museum. Forget about going through old books and literature. No. If you want real historic research, you go on ebay.com where they sell the most outlandish relics.
That's actually what I did when I was in the States a few months back. I told Rohit that I'm going to spend some time just trying to get as much vintage old stuff as possible. 90 miles west of Philly where my wife lives, or her parents live, there's a small town called Adamstown that has a 7-mile stretch of road with vintage and antique shops on either side, right? Nice. I spent an entire day walking door to door saying, do you have old boots? By the end of it, I think the entire town thought there's this weird guy who's just asking about shoe. And it was bizarre because, people are like, are you the shoe guy? I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, I got a call about you. We don't have anything. I'm like, that's fine, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yep. There you go. That's a wooden prototype. Do you want to show it to him?
Yeah, let's see that.
We build our own outsoles now, which are inspired from the heritage soles like Catpaws and all those other vintage brands. And we've been working on a lot of permutation combinations, a lot of maquettes that we made, designing the perfect one. So a lot of research work going on in here. We love doing this. I mean, this is the reason that we started. It is for the love of the goods that we really get inspired from the historical events, the historical products, and then we put the hat of the mad scientist and we sit down on the drawing board on working on alteration. So this is how we develop leathers as well. Now we started developing our own outsoles, and we are also working on the compound. That how do you make them nitrile rubber? We've been studying, we've been working with. So one of the manufacturers that they supply to big brands. They supply to all top-notch brands across the globe. They work with Vibram very closely. The founders of those companies, they studied from the US, they did in rubber, worked with Continental Tires, worked with Vibram for a couple of years, started their own, like it was their family generational business in leather industry, rubber industry. So they started making really high quality leather goods, the rubber goods, and they supply to major footwear brands. We work with them. We take their help developing our products, and that there's the next stage of our brand. We are developing all the outsoles, rubber outsoles. We will be working on lug style sole as well. So right now we are working on a heritage sole. So KB will tell you more about this.
Yes. I just have one question. So you're taking inspiration from the cat's paw. What's a well-known cat in India that you have? Do you have any wild cats out there?
India's the last home of the Asiatic lion. We've got tigers, we've got leopards.
Okay, so maybe call it a leopard's paw.
Can you read it? Look at the logo. There is an artisan hammering setting a rivet on an anvil. So anvil is the kind of motto, the kind of pictorial representation of our brand. This is called an anvil heritage sole. And instead of having a cat, we have an anvil.
Awesome. I love it. You guys nailed it. Very well done.
We actually looked at Built Right, at Cat's Paw, and at vintage military soles that they used in the 40s and 50s. So we took the element of the raised lip around the toes
Yeah.
from the military. We took the elements of those very classic studs that all the brands had back then. And then we were kind of deciding, we want to put like a Vibram 430 Commando, like recessed lug in the center. Do we want to just leave the pattern plain? And that's when he had the brilliant idea of what if we put our own logo there and brand it and make it our own? And that just worked. So we took our logo, we modified it just a little bit here and there so it works on rubber. And it's an anvil that's in a nice little box, anvil heritage written on it, heavy duty, won't slip. It's got all the stuff that, I've seen and he's seen on these old boots, and we're bringing it back right now. Of course, knock on wood, hope and pray that it's successful, but just the journey and the process. It's 10 parts fun, 2 parts frustration, and 1 part want to slam your head in the desk. Because ultimately, like he explained, India is a massive export in this industry, right? So very few manufacturers are geared or willing to cater to a small brand. So the kind of cajoling and networking and relationship building you have to do, the type of patience you need, the kind of just relentless follow-up that both of us have to do on the same thing multiple times a day, days on end, weeks on end, to get, outputs. When we actually get a wooden sort of template from the manufacturer saying, are you guys happy with this? It's like hitting such a big milestone. And but that thing is getting close to its trial run, and we are extremely excited. I've got a couple of pairs of boots that are ready for resoling, but I've made a promise to him that we'll not resole them until the anvil heritage is ready, because we're going to slap those babies on there.
No other sole will do.
Nope, nothing will go on it. Yep.
I really like that.
And we're also working with compounds that we're doing. So we are working, and we have used nitrile compounds in one of our soles, and it came out really well. We are also working on similar compounds. We use the propagation, anti-slip properties, and oil resistance properties, and all those things. We're already working on all those kind of capabilities right into the sole. So it's super durable, it's functional, and it lasts as long as. We try and keep our soles soft. We do not want you taking a hit on your back joints and all. And it also facilitates to a lot of traction, right? Because hard soles tend to slip a lot. We do not want people slipping, people going outdoors, and so. But we are still trying to balance it in a way that we can have the best of two, really high quality, long lasting, which is also soft, so that it provides you with a good traction and also support to your backbone, so that it's not super hard and your joints are not absorbing the kind of shock that you are gaining from walking or climbing or running or whatever you're doing, wearing. So that is what we're working. So the joy is that we get to learn about the compound, the chemicals, how can you make it better, do a test run. So it's a lot of fun. The reason that we come up with so many, get this adrenaline rush of developing something new, getting a sample in, opening it up, discussing it, making the new prototypes, finally showing it to our audience, and they love it. That's the problem. We do not want to come up with 6 designs and we're done as a company. Now we're only going to make more and more of it, not by KB and join the hands. We want to keep on getting better, keep on making finer goods, keep on getting inspired from how it was made 50 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. And we're also started to collect actual stuff from back then, so that we can open them up, test them, how strong, how nice.
Amazing.
So the first iteration is actually the unit lug commando sole that you have on your combat boots.
Yeah.
That's the first version of a nitrile rubber sole that we've developed, which is why it has our brand on it. And it's like he said, it's a balancing act. It's like a tripod, right? The moment you start adjusting one leg of the tripod, you start losing balance on the other one. There's no one right way to do it. What we did with that is we actually went for a slightly softer compound, because there are several very famous, world famous brands that use I'm not going to drop any names here. I don't want to throw shade on anyone.
Yeah.
That use a studded sole that's very famous, right? That's also very hard. And from personal experience of using that sole on many products that I have, I've gone slipping and sliding on wet marble floors because most of the office buildings that we have in India, the flooring is all hard and typically marble or granite. So when someone's mopping the floor and you're wearing that studded hard sole, you're going to go flying across the floor and look like a fool. So that was like an entire day worth of a conversation the two of us had is that sole lasts forever. That compound is so hard, it can just take a beating, but it's great outdoors. Most of our customers, right, we believe are, people like us who work normal jobs in cities, right? And will wear this to work or about town. Maybe when they go out, their family, they go on a holiday, they'll take it with them. So it needs to be able to offer the same degree of functionality indoors as it can outdoors, which is why we've kind of gone for a slightly softer compound that has a bit of squish so it gets better traction on the floor, as opposed to something that's going to last 100 years, but, give you a free lesson in ice skating. That's just not going to be fun for anyone.
I love ice skating personally. I love it when I can run on the ice and then just stop and just sort of snowboard
Keep moving.
across. But I'm a snowboarder. It was an adolescent pursuit. So whenever I have the chance to slip and slide, I always take it personally. I know it's not for everybody. And what you're describing there is yes, the softness versus the hardness, but also one thing that I've really learned to take into consideration when walking in boots is the strike. As the boot strikes the ground, how does that feel? Because lately, my goal, my daily step count goal is 20,000 steps. I'm basically wearing my legs raw when I walk, and I find myself, it's like I could walk on the pavement, but if I have a point to where I could walk on the grass, provides what's called a soft strike, and you can walk much further on grass or on dirt than you can on concrete. This is something that, guys, as they get older, it's like, are you running on a track where it's a soft strike, or are you running on concrete where it's a hard strike? The hard strike is definitely putting more wear and tear on your bones and on your joints. And so by incorporating a soft strike sole into your boots, the sole might not last as long. I know everybody wants an item to last forever, but you have to be practical also for your health. For me now, I'm taking great consideration into not how long the boot's going to last, how long can I last walking in, right? And so a soft strike is going to allow you to much more ergonomically achieve a longer distance than a hard strike will. So for me, that's something that I definitely appreciate is the soft strike. Whenever I have the chance to walk on dirt, I take the dirt. I do not take the concrete because I feel it. It's jarring. It's a shock up my skeletal structure every step I take. Whereas on the dirt or on the grass, it's a soft strike. So that's one thing to take into consideration. Anybody watching, if you're into long distance walking or running, especially as you age, you need to take into consideration the terrain that you're on, and you could augment the experience by having a softer sole, a wedge sole. These are always soft strike soles. Just wanted to throw that out there. But so kudos to you guys. I mean, I could tell you guys just put so much work into this. I love it. I love to see where you're going with all of it. It's very inspiring. I could tell you're both very passionate about what you do. It's obvious, in fact, when you just look at your website. I mean, the array of products you offer and the amount of research that you put into every one of them, all the aspects, I love it. So let's keep nerding out. What do you got there, Rohit?
I've got two boots, the super boots that we have. One is Chromex number 8.
Nice.
This is Saddleback. This one has got Kamas. This is the Ritual that you got. I just want to show that these are both great leathers, both great outsoles, great. It's just the belt that these are branded components. These are the ones that we developed. They both fit in our wear. Horween is great. We love Horween. Fantastic leather. It's very easy to work with. It's supple. It's soft. But Saddleback, it's amazing. The grains, I don't know if you guys are able to see this, but the grains are way more prominent. The hair polishes, the way it breaks in, it's really nice because it's very sturdy, thick. So when you were showing the boot in the beginning, the fall that it takes, the wrinkles that it makes, they're very prominent. They're not as soft as cow leather is, and because buffalo leather is very stiff, it is very sturdy. The fall is also different because if something is really sturdy and stiff, it is not going to crush immediately, right? It's going to take longer and thicker waves. So that is how this patina in a different way than this does, but they both beautifully glitters. We used international company, know how they feel. And hence, after understanding everything available in the market, we developed our own range and they are equally good. But if you are a fan of using brand new components, we offer these. If you would love to try something that we've developed, we've really worked hard on, and which is very special and very different from what there is in the market, try these on. They are fantastic. And you get a bang for your buck here. You get a fantastic built boot with really high quality.
I think that's one of the aspirations that he's had. Just because something is made well, it shouldn't be something only for the super rich or a certain privileged socioeconomic background. We want to get as many people as we can to enjoy and value and experience well-made things. So that's also, I would say, one of the big motivations we have when we're designing. And we want everyone from the geekiest of people like us, all three of us on this call, to find value in it, and also someone who's a sneakerhead and saying, oh, I'll try it, to also put it on and be like, wow, I thought this would be like wearing cinder blocks on my feet, but it's light, it's comfortable, it's airy. And what really changed my mind on that, interestingly enough, was took a short holiday to Hong Kong with my family, and I just went to this store called Benny Store HK that carries John Lofgren, a lot of Japanese brands. And I was just trying on Japanese boots, and I realized they're so light, but they did not feel inexpensive, right? And especially after looking at the price tag, they were not inexpensive. So that completely changed my perspective that everything needs to weigh 10 pounds and needs to have, a 20 millimeter thick counter and, 50-ounce midsoles. And he's going to laugh right now because he's been telling me this for years. Yep.
It's a brave man that puts these ones on.
Yeah. I mean, he's been telling me this for years, and I refuse to believe him. And then I tried it on. I'm like, fine, I give up. He has a point. And I was talking to Lars at Osmo. I messaged him, and I just asked him, why don't you use 10 or 12-ounce leathers for your uppers? And he gave me a very sarcastic, cynical answer. I'm like, fair enough. That makes sense because most of us aren't wildland firefighters. We don't actually need that. If you can get the functionality to a degree, the look that you want, right? And the life comfort out of it, I don't see why. And, it means so much to us when someone like you appreciates the leathers that we use, because there's a lot of validation you get instant, because you get the validation of in some cases, multiple decades or century of work another family is put into developing a product. Whereas for us, when we develop a hide or an outsole, it's not as simple, it's not as easy. But when we get appreciation from folks like yourself who've experienced, the Vibergs and the Whites and the Nicks and the JKs and the Trumans and Eastman and Lofgrens of the world, Renav Goods, all of those guys, and there's still appreciation and love. It just is such validation of the work we're doing that we're very grateful. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that means the world to me. And, I love leather. I feel like there's almost a spiritual affinity that I have for leather and heritage goods. I think it probably comes, I've talked about this before, this sort of genetic memory that some of us carry. I think that, I don't think that all of our memories or all of our thoughts are necessarily our own. I think they're probably thoughts and experiences and memories that our forefathers had possibly millennia ago. And so I think mankind has a very special relationship with animal hides. Obviously, we eat animal flesh, we eat their muscles, and we use the leather for many different purposes: shelter, garments, footwear, shirts, pants, belts, whatever. And we've been using leather for so long as a species. It's not just a utilitarian aspect of it. I think it's also there's a societal connection you have when you're, say, a simple hunter-gatherer. The guy that lives 3 tents down or 3 huts down from you works on leather. You rely on that guy for your day-to-day survival. And that's what I think I'm sort of trying to get at with the overall message that I'm trying to push is like, this is more than just the item itself. This is bonding with other people, other cultures, and to hear your guys' story, the amount of effort that you put into your designs and everything, it's, to me, it's almost like a spiritual experience. Like, this is a conversation that could have happened 10,000 years ago between some, some guys in a village, like, hey man, my leather shield broke. It cracked. Could you make me a new one? And this guy probably, had absorbed several generations of his, father and grandfather working on hides to craft implements and these garments. Said, sure, all I got to do is brain tan this deer right here. It's very barbaric. I wouldn't recommend that. But I think that's where my ultimate fascination stems from. And I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means. I call myself an enthusiast first and foremost. And when I see good work, I can't help but call it out. I really just appreciate the R&D that you put into this stuff, but also your own individualized, personalized customization into every aspect of it. So thank you for making something truly original that you could call your own. Anybody can do a cap toe, but not anybody can source buffalo leather, put that tannin on it, put that wax on it, and amplify the features of it. You didn't paint over it to try to cover up the imperfections. Like, I'm looking at follicle marks right now, and that I love it. So cool. And speaking of functionality, I just wanted to bring into the frame the Wolverine 1000 Mile, which is hailed across the internet and across the world. And look at how thin that leather outsole is. There's nothing to it. You'll wear that thing.
Yep.
And this is an example of a boot that was built with durability, probably took the back seat, but functionality, like there's going to be no break-in. You might be slipping all over the place with the leather sole, but it's going to breathe. And it's got its own place in the market, and it's got a great reputation. And so your boots obviously going to outlast the 1000 Mile. The 1000 Mile probably make it more like 100 miles. But these are actually going to make it. These will probably take you 10,000 miles before they give out. So
those were actually my first heritage boots that I got after my DMs were Wolverine 1000 Miles.
Okay.
And like you said, they serve a niche in the market.
Yeah.
Right? I think they're a great place for people to get an introduction to this segment without necessarily having to go on a multi-year payment plan, which some other brands will put you on.
Mortgage.
But what I think is more interesting than the 1000 Mile they're producing today is old ads and old product catalogs that Wolverine has from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. The stuff they used to make was just beautiful. It was just mind-blowingly beautiful. Amazing company, great history. Personally, I like their older stuff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but a lot of our beloved American heritage companies have, there are rumors that they no longer make them in America, that they've sold out, that they've outsourced. And absolutely, it's kind of obvious when you see it. There's a Red Wing shop down the road from me, 5-minute drive down the road. They sell all Red Wings, but they're all work boots.
Mm-hmm.
80, 90 bucks. They're not made, they can't be made in America, and they're made with cheap materials. And when a company gets big, they start to sort of, in some ways, sell out. Red Wing still has their heritage line, of course, where they stick to their traditional method of crafting boots, but they've become a corporation in a way. Unfortunately, a lot of American heritage companies have sort of sold out to one degree or another. And it's sad to see, but that's business sometimes.
It is. But the one thing I would still say about all of these, right? I still tip my hat to every single one of them because they've been around on this planet longer than the three of us combined, right?
Some have been around even longer than the Goodyear technique has been. Some are like 1800s.
Yeah,
that's true. We've been building great stuff for all these centuries, decades, and all. And we really take inspiration from them.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Have those when we are doing stuff, and we learn a lot from them. We've seen their videos of how they craft, and I think it's fantastic to have those. I really, really love them, adore them. Even Wolverine, they are the OGs, Red Wings. They started this when nobody, and heritage is in trend right now, I understand, but surviving through all those decades when people weren't taking them as fashion things, but they were taking them as things, as tools that they would use to get to work. Surviving those years when they were not the hype, I really, really salute them for being there, being able to, because so many companies, they stopped operating because they went out of this. So yeah, managing through all those years, difficult years, when they were not the fashion products, I would say kudos to all these brands.
Yeah. And I mean, guys like Vince Romano, Brett Viberg, Brian Truong of Roll Club, I mean, Lars at Osmo, these are guys who, who so many of us look up to for the innovation, what they can do with their hands. It's just remarkable. So,
yes, absolutely. And absolutely, I salute also we're standing on the shoulders of giants. What's kind of neat is we could inspiration from them and carry that torch forward. I think that's the most inspirational part of it, is like, it's not an alien concept to us. We could see what they've done and respect it, but also in our own way reinterpret it and keep it going, because boot making doesn't necessarily belong to a company or a corporation. In many ways, it belongs to us, the people that wear the boots and that love the boots. You never know when the next apocalypse might happen, and we might have to start making our own stuff. So,
the more companies that are out there, I think it's fantastic, because it's always interesting to see how different people are giving their own spin on things. And it's great to see more people entering the space, because it means the space is reviving and customers tired of buying stuff that you buy today and have to throw in the dump after a year or 2 years. I think it's extremely encouraging when people are proactively asking for stuff that lasts a long time, that ages well, and that, may be a little more expensive up front, but will pay for itself over its life.
Oh,
so
easily. So true. Yeah, people want good stuff, and we shouldn't deny ourselves good things, and they don't have to be expensive either. I know there's so many Americans that I know. I'd say the sweeping majority, they want the cheapest thing they could get. That's their one and only goal. Is it cheap? That's and they think they're smart because they spend $10 or $15 on this knockoff pair of sneakers at Payless or wherever they're getting their shoes. And it's like, okay, but you're living in these things, right? Don't you want to live a quality life? In my opinion, you're not living your best life if you're surrounded by cheap. Just because you got it for $15, it doesn't mean that you're winning. It means that you wanted to put as little thought into it and as little investment into it as possible, but you're living in these things. You're spending more time in these shoes than you are in your car, in your house. Think about how you're living you actually live in your clothing, right? Shouldn't it be the best? Do you care about your body? Do you care about how you look? Do you care about how you feel? These are things that bother me, frankly.
And don't get me wrong, both of us have had this so many times when we just chat in the office or on call. There are economic realities that many folks have to face and deal with that may not always be the most. And we understand, we empathize, which is why I think, to your point, it's a shame when good things aren't available or accessible to everyone. And it's so encouraging when there are companies out there trying to make things accessible. I think that deserves a pat on the back.
Oh, so true. So true. And you know what? I've come to this conclusion. I'm now 40. I'm officially, an elderly, you might call.
Welcome to the club.
Yes. But I'm to the point to where there's two things in life I'll never compromise on. One, my food, and two, what I wear. Like, I don't care about my level of income. I will invest in good food and good clothing no matter what. In terms of economics, those are my top two priorities. I'll never step back from that or recant from that or back down from that. Life it's only as good as you're willing to make it, and sacrifices are required to live your best life. And you're not living your best life in some cheap foam sneakers. You're just not. And I'm not even talking about economically disadvantaged people. I'm talking about people that have multiple pensions, still in the mindset of, I have to buy $15 sneakers. Dude, get out of it. Like, break free from the chains. You don't have to live like this.
That's also, Dale, I think that also comes down to education and awareness, right?
That too.
Because there was a time, and so, I mean, I have literally dozens, if not hundreds, of albums of old boot brands that I've archived and sorted out with the correct logo as the album cover and everything. And I can tell you that there was a time you could go into, well, you don't find them anymore, but a Sears Roebuck, right? And you could pick up a pair of work boots for $3 or $4 that had a corded outsole, right? Full grain leather, Goodyear welted, right? I mean, it was literally one step away from the N1 boondocker that was issued to the USMC in the 40s. And that was $2 or $3. And people just accepted that. Yeah, people accepted that as the standard,
Standard.
right?
Yeah, the quality
And I
was
think that's
standard,
exactly.
craftsmanship was standard.
Yeah.
But I would not blame overproducing cheap goods. I do not think so. Where it is actually made is
Yeah.
not a big issue. Who's going to buy is the main issue. I think there are fantastic products that are made in China. There are lots of makers proving that they can produce really high quality products, really high quality products in Indonesia, in Japan, in India. So I think it's the buyers, it's the brands who go and outsource. They want the most for their money. They want to buy thousands of $4, $5, and then they want to sell it for $50 so that they get the most out of their investment. I think there is the problem because I think so many great brands emerging from China. So there is the skill set. So many great artisans in Indonesia, but they also happen to supply really price products which are like around 10, 20, $30 in terms of pricing. They're also leather, but that's not high quality leather or very intensively worked on craftsmanship. So I would say it's more about the people who are going to procure and what they really want to bring into their country because they feel if they buy it for $4, $5, $6, $8 and they're able to get 10x on their investment, that is the best for their company. But there are very few who would go by quality. I mean, I would say look at iPhones, for example. They never produced in the US, but they still sell one of the highest quality electronics that you can go. The laptop that I'm with, 4, 5 years old, it's still as good as new. So I would say it's up to you as a brand when you go out. I think there are some boot brands who produce in China. They're American, produce in China, and they've got fantastic boots, fantastic. So it's not about where they're made. It's about the mentality of the people who are placing their orders or people who are investing in high quality. So it's less to do with the region. It's more to do with the mind.
Amen.
Also, it's about us versus other heritage brands. We have no competition with heritage brands. We want more heritage brands in the market. We want to see more people wearing high quality products, high quality gear, which lasts them very, very long time. Us plus heritage brands against the mass produced marketing brands. So what are marketing brands? Marketing brands are who outsource everything. They have an office, they've got few marketers with just spending more marketing dollars, marketing the brand. They're not makers. They've never sat down and developed their own products, the design, they have no inspiration. They just go out in exhibitions, find sellers, pay the money, bring the products in, start marketing, put in their own name, and they're selling. They do not know about the materials, the quality. They don't really care about how it's going to last. I think that is the problem. The problem that people want to establish brands without establishing. That is the big issue. So it's us, and I feel we all, like all the brands in the US, all the brands in India that you were mentioning, Indonesians, Japanese, kudos to all of them. Let's have more of them. Let's go out in the market, have some really good priced options for people to start testing with so that you can buy a pair, you can feel how it feels like, you can upgrade to any expensive or cheaper brand, but there has to be quality, build, structure, integrity, research work into the product, that feel of owning something. So that is what I really important and missing in the market.
Wow, that is so refreshing to hear. I have to say, because in business in general, the mindset is I want to be the best and I want to eradicate the competition. But what you guys are saying is no, we want more heritage makers. Like let's bring them in. Let's bring on more. That to me is incredible, and I agree. Like that's one thing that I often say on my channel. It's like at my current capacity to make backpacks, I could probably make, I don't know, 4 a year. I do not encourage buyers to come to me to make them a backpack because I do not have the capacity, right? When I was going to school for my business degree, my professor said, he said, don't try to be the best, try to be different. And that really struck a deep chord with me because it's like, yeah, stop trying to compete with competitors. They're not competitors. If the industry is thriving, that's a good thing. It's so refreshing to hear you guys say that you're not threatened by other heritage makers, that you encourage more heritage makers. I think that's absolutely a great message to spread, because the more heritage makers there are, yes, that creates even more reach to wider audiences, wider customer bases. It's very humbling to hear that from you guys. Like, you're not out there trying to grandstand saying, "Oh, we're the best. Don't buy from anybody else." Like, no, you actually have respect for other makers, and
Oh,
you,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I have the almost fanboy respect for Viberg. I
Uh-huh.
have almost fanboy respect for Viberg. I love what they do. I love that they've been able to do it for as long as they've done it. Tip my hat to Brett, who literally started this entire service boot movement in 2011 or 12 when he copyrighted the name, right?
Right.
Because he was the first one to sort of do it. I literally can't imagine how difficult it was for Vince to start Truman by himself in Pennsylvania, then Colorado, then moving up to Oregon, while running a farm and doing being a human being, a husband, a father, doing all the other stuff as well. I mean, they aren't competition. Not at all. They aren't competition because we're not trying to make $1,000 boots, right? That's not our value proposition.
Mhm.
Our value proposition, I think, has always been and will continue to be to make boots in the world, right? And offer them to as broad of an audience as possible. Your wallet should not be the limiting factor to experiencing heritage quality, right? And coming back to the point you were making about the sneakers, that kind of stuff, I also think it's extremely important that whether you're a influencer, a reviewer, a user, a tester, a brand, that you have to educate people
Yeah.
and explain to them, get them to relearn why these things are important. Now, maybe not everyone's going to value it, and that's absolutely fine.
Right.
But to simply to put in all this work, whether you're a PNW brand that has 100 years of Arch Ease experience, right? Or you're a Canadian brand that has been making Goodyear welted stuff for 80 years, or you're an Indonesian brand who still does every last stitch by hand. I think educating people on the benefits of that,
Mhm.
right, is so important because how can they value something if they don't know what it is? Guys like you were one of the biggest education tools that I had when I first got into this hobby. Because
Oh.
back then on YouTube, it was just you.
Mhm.
It was just you, right? And I still remember your re-waxing of your Java wax flesh with birches.
Yeah, the birch.
When you, yeah, with that dark stuff. And I remember when you took these green rough out type Trumans to the Grand Canyon or someplace and you shot videos off them. So, guys like you have been so influential for people like me that this is almost full circle. It's so nice to be able to talk to you face to face.
Likewise, likewise. Wow, thank you so much. Wow, that hit me deep. Thank you. Thank you. I could tell you've been attentive and listening and an enthusiast and in love with this craft for so long. This is full circle in a lot of ways, but also not the end, because I would love to have you guys back on again in the future. I'm just blown away by this talk, the level of detail, the level of intricacy involved. I can't help but gush over what you guys have been doing. Truly, like when I said that in the engineer video, that I'm just gushing over this leather. I'm not making it up. Like, I truly am. Like, you guys managed to develop something as an enthusiast I can appreciate on the deepest levels. The work you're putting into this stuff and the cost of it, like looking at your jackets, they're in the $300 range. Compare that to something like double helix or aero leathers, you're looking at $1,500, 2 grand, and you guys already have the pattern dialed in. You have the leathers dialed in. I mean,
So the jackets was all him. I joined the company, right?
yeah,
So it's interesting for me, and I'm not trying to make this about me, by the way, but
yeah,
someone who helped get me into the hobby is on this call, and someone who's been gracious enough to let me make this hobby a living is also on this call. I'm very blessed to have this, but when I walked into the workshop for the first time and I saw those jackets,
yeah,
I was floored. I was absolutely floored. And trust me, the photographs don't do them justice, right? Because I've seen jackets in stores in Center City, Philadelphia. I've been to King of Prussia Mall, Banana Republic, the rest of those, big stores.
yeah.
And I've not seen anything that comes close to these jackets at this price point or any price point sub $1,500 to $1,800. There is nothing on the market. This is not a sales pitch. Trust me. I wouldn't say it if I wasn't convinced. And he knows that because there'll be times where I will make a pattern. He likes it, right? And I'm like, this thing sucks. I hate it. I'm going to start from scratch again, right? I am so OCD about this stuff. But the jackets, there's literally nothing for me to even add. It's not my expertise. Clothing's not my expertise. That's all him. The entire fact that we have jackets, wax canvas, selvage, it's his brainchild. There is not one bit of help that I contributed to that project at all. It's all him, and he'll never say it because he's just modest, right? But that's all him, and I think the stuff that he has poured his soul into developing is just phenomenal.
Right. Well, Rohit, go ahead, say it.
You cannot reinvent the wheel, guys. All these designs are classics, they are heritage, they are available since over 100 years, 120 years, 80 years ago. The field jackets, all these jackets are classic. You just do not really need to touch the pattern. You have them, people have worn them, they're field tested. I think these are fantastic. I'm super excited when it comes to all these products because I don't need to do a thing. I just need to get the construction right. I just need to find the best materials that I can, honor the designs and patterns used by pilots, by people who were on the field, people who were creating the motorcycle scene 80 years ago. I am just trying to pay my homage, my tribute to all those fantastic, cool people. I mean, I look at cool people today and I go back searching for images cool years ago, and man, it blows my style that they had, the engineers that they would put on, the bikes that they had, the cool attitude that they had, man. Really missing that in today's generation. It's just a way to bring that the times that I'm fascinated from. I'm just trying to just take it, reproduce it. Do not touch it. Do not touch what has been tested, tried, loved by millions of people for all those decades. There's nothing for me to touch. All I need to do is figure out how to make them in the best way with the best materials possible and can be so. And also give them at a price point that it does not, like, I do not know about the US market, but I think $1,500 is a thing for a jacket, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Right.
So
I do not. A lot of people will get into those kind of styles because it will be very expensive for them to get into. We as a brand want to take that hurdle away. We want to have those products that you can try, touch, and say you're proud about those designs and that era specific made, and still not be starving your kids or not being able to pay your EMI. So that is really something on my mind. How to make, not mass market, I would say, not because mass market is a negative term. I would say how you can make it accessible, value for money to get on to high quality.
Well, you're right, KB. He is very humble. He he does not want to take.
And I can tell you stories about him where we've had our artisans bring in, test jackets, and neither he nor I know how to operate a sewing machine effectively, right? Or let's call it productively.
Right.
And he will find errors in how things have been stitched and give them solutions on how to stitch it right. And I'm sitting there just with my jaw, like hitting the floor. And I'm like, am I even adding value in this conversation? Maybe I should take a coffee break.
Right.
So it's just incredible. And, starting this brand out, it's something I tell them every day, that the kind of guts you need to have to start a heritage brand in India, of all places.
Right.
Hard enough to do something like this in the States where there is a market, right? And you have Filson, and you have all these Barber, and you have, Flint and Tinder, all these fantastic brands that have sort of trailblazed and have created a market. It's hard enough to do it there. But to do it here and to still have customers from Europe and the US reach out to us and share their love for the product, it's really humble.
It's got to be super encouraging. Actually, this is another question from my buddy Chris. He wanted to ask, what are the top 3 countries that you guys mostly cater to? I would imagine it's probably America. Do you have many Indian customers within the country?
A lot of Indians. We have a lot of customers appreciating the love, thanks to the internet, thanks to a lot of platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and all those places where you can explore, search, find stuff. So this has given exposure to a lot of people across the globe, right? India is also one place where people are on the internet searching for good quality products. There are people who love to get into. There are a lot of bikers, there are a lot of hikers, there are a lot of people who are into adventure activities, and these things come naturally to them, right? People
Yeah.
who are into bushcraft, who are tracking Himalayas and all those places, they love to get associated buying, purchasing, using high quality leather. So, as I told you, I started with bags because I love them, and we
Yes.
got a customer base. We got a customer base who were asking for all these kind of goods and how we can deliver them. So we had a great customer base, a loving customer base from India, but boy, we got response from US. Fantastic customers, so much of appreciation, so many repeat customers coming back and showing love, so many great people, personalities like you who are appreciating the craft, spreading the word for us. This is really helpful. All the content that you produce, other great people like you are helping establish us into it's brotherhood. It's a small community. Like we've seen your videos for so many years now. You liked our goods, and there are customers who built us, bought, they paid the money so that we can pay off to our artisans and build this company. So I think it's a small community of people who are really great, appreciating, forgiving. Also, we've screwed up. Damn, we've screwed up so many times. We're learning. We're making better products every day, coming with new designs, but we have screwed up many times. It is such a loving community. They never went out, shouted a lot of. They politely reached us to us. We helped them along. I think it's the beautiful community. The people in the community built us. We haven't built ourselves. We've not been funding ourselves. It's the people who gave their hard-earned money to us, which helped us. So I think it is for the people. It is by the people and great people like KB joining, putting their faith in the small brand that we have.
Oh yeah,
But the
absolutely.
short answer to your friend's question,
Yeah.
and along the lines of what he said is, I'd say about almost three-quarters of our sales are domestic. So we launched a WhatsApp community, like a forum for our members. So any customer is automatically invited to be a part of that forum. And boy, there is chatter non-stop between guys, between customers about the boots they've bought, the jackets, the watches, holidays, motorcycles, off-road vehicles. I mean, you name it, there's some type of conversation going on up there. And we're so grateful when we have messages coming in from folks in the States as well. So the US is probably by far our single biggest overseas.
Okay. Wow. That's good to know. So, but you said three-quarters of your business is within India? Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So you guys are actually like spearheading bringing heritage workwear to the Indian market. That's cool. So, like if I come to India, next year or something like that, I expect to see a lot of guys in selvage denim and Goodyear welted boots.
Well, there's 1.4 billion people here, so statistically, even if we sold out every single unit we made, right, it would be a drop in the ocean.
Right, right.
But
It's rare here in the States too. The last time I spotted selvage denim in public was 8 years ago. I struck up a conversation with a guy. He had selvage denim and indie boots on. I'm like, dude, what's up? And it's so rare. Really, it's crazy, but that's why I took to Instagram and to YouTube because like just the general public around me, they're not into this stuff. And
yeah,
I oftentimes say like you could show people this stuff if they don't have the natural inclination towards it,
mhm.
they're not gonna appreciate it. Even you could explain it, but you don't have an eye for quality, you'll never get it, sort of a thing, It's kind of like if you were to go to the denim district in Japan.
Mm.
Yeah, you'd probably see a lot of selvage denim and
Oh yeah.
probably a lot of good boots too. It really is a niche community, but I think it is growing. And so I'm encouraged to hear that you have a lot of customers local to you. That is
Mm.
amazing news. Actually, I'm so glad to hear that they appreciate the stuff that you're doing as well. I was honestly expecting to hear that like America and Europe, maybe
Mhm.
Australia were like your biggest customers, but I'm very surprised but delighted to find out that you're selling within India. That's huge. I mean,
And I
that's
think that comes back to like how I got to know the brand. right? Because I knew you have your Trumans and Vibergs and White and Nicks and all these fantastic companies in the States. But by the time you import it to India, right, the cost goes up about 2.5 times with all the import duties and the shipping, and you know how much those things cost, right? So I think there is an audience who's looking for an alternative.
Yeah.
And our mission, and I think, is to prove to everyone that, the companies that are doing this overseas, they're fantastic. I can't say a bad thing about them, and I never will.
Yeah.
But it's not magic, right?
Right.
None of us, for lack of a better way to put it, are launching, rocket ships to Mars, right? That it's something that's like so specialized and super specific.
Yeah.
We want to show our customers in India and break the myth that, great stuff can't be made, because nothing could be further from the truth.
Right.
I mean, this civilization's been producing some of the finest work for thousands of years. There's no reason why that rich history and that legacy stop. And are we there yet? No. Are we getting closer every single day? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think we're getting closer every single day. But the point is, with guys like me and guys like Rohit, our founder, we're never going to be satisfied, which is what pushes us to keep improving and keep improving and keep improving everything we make. Because the day I think we're like, all right, now we've hit a quality standard we're happy with, I think that's the day that you get comfortable and you kind of start losing a little bit.
Yeah, that's when the brand dies. And I've seen it with American brands. So yes, absolutely. I think you have the mindset to continue to, so that's very encouraging. I would also say that, like, you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, and you guys are spearheading the Indian market. It's incredibly encouraging to see. And in fact, talking about Mars, I'm no stranger to the fact that you guys developed the Vimanas, right? Are you guys familiar with the Vimanas?
Yeah.
So you guys built those craft that could fly around in the so what I want to see is a Vimana go to Mars, and I want to see the astronaut wearing a suit of waxed buffalo walking around on Mars. That's what I envision happening within the next 10 years. So I have to throw in some juvenile humor here.
Someone's been watching Ancient Aliens. Someone's been watching Ancient Aliens.
Every night. It's what I go to sleep to every single night. All jokes aside, I do love the Vimanas. I mean, there are some very articulate depictions of how they were.
Yep.
I mean, you can't deny it. I mean, they're very old, and yeah, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But if you're not familiar with Vimanas, go look them up. It's another whole other thing to go down. One thing I also wanted to commend you guys on was your branding on the boxes. Like, this to me looks like something a pair of whites would arrive, in the 1950s, probably. Like, you guys nailed the imagery and the branding on the boxes. This has always been something that has impressed me about your operation. And this too, the other one. Oh, sorry. I got the other box here. This one too, I found most inspiring. The craftsman in his workshop. I see the anvil, I see the stitcher, I see the hammer, the boot he's working on. Like, you guys nailed the genre and imagery of heritage. So kudos to you guys. I've shown the boot bags and all that. You're really chasing the heart, I think, of that rustic heritage workwear feel, function, branding. You guys are just doing an amazing job. So kudos to both of you. I mean, I'm super impressed by everything that I've seen. I don't even know everything because I just opened your website during this talk and found leather jackets and canvas jackets. I wish you guys nothing but the best moving forward. I'm obviously a fan. The fact that you're developing your own leathers, to me, I mean, it doesn't get any more sort of foundational than that. I really hope anyone watching gives you guys a look. It's not a big investment to get into a pair of these boots. Probably double the cost of a pair of mall shoes that you can get in your local mall. Easily 50 times the quality. When I got the engineers and these in my possession, like, I go to bed thinking about wearing them the next day. I'm like so excited to put them on. Truly, they're not just well built, good materials, but they're also aesthetically beautiful and they hit that chord of these could have been seen 150 years ago and they would have been period appropriate. They're that era specific. They're that classic. I can't say enough good things about them. You guys are doing a bang up job over there, and I can't wait to see what you guys are up to next. I know you touched on it a little bit, but I have to ask the question anyways. Aside from what you've covered already, what else do you have planned for the future
Okay.
that you
So
can
I'll
share?
address the footwear stuff. I'll let Rohit address the rest of the garments someone would need to wear to match.
Yeah.
So first things first, I'm deep diving on improving every single step of the boot manufacturing process. Whether it's stitches per inch, whether it's clicking, whether it's our lasting, whether it's our components, making them a little thicker here, a little thinner there. A big undertaking that we're kicking off is a couple of new lasts that are very heritage inspired, right? What I will say is the one last that we have in our possession and will start prototyping on is actually from the 40s.
What?
Yep, it was made in 1941. Yep, it was made in
Whoa.
1941. I won't say much more than that, but I will just drop one word, and that is boondocker. That's it.
Ooh. Okay. That is not a bad word on this channel. That is in fact the opposite of a bad word. I love the boondocker. So Rohit, what do you have in the works?
So we are working on a lot of work pant style pants. We're gonna have a double knee carpenters. That is something which is very new to Indian market, but is also being asked by international customers. Super excited about very ruggedish looking salvaged canvas, wax canvas pants, jackets, some very Western style denim shirts. These are things that we are developing. Why we are developing clothing range? Because it's a uniform and we just supply one part of it, but you still do not get the other parts of the uniform here. Look, just like there isn't a lot of brands that do salvage denims, wax canvas jackets, and then we take the responsibility to not just supplying the boot. Because if you do not complete the look, you do not complete the feel of the whole dress. Even the boots you worn on regular denims, fitted shirts, do not give you that 360-degree uniform, ruggedish workwear kind. So we then took it in our hands that why not supply the entire uniform. We've been looking for hence the jackets. People message us. We do not design anything that let's do it for the bucks. If you get a pair of boots and they, hey, where do you get this denim that you're wearing from? And then I would say, hey, we got it from a great US brand called Brave Star Salvage. And then we have some salvage from Iron Heart for the shoes that because we wanted to tell that this is how it looks, this is how the people were wearing boots in 1940s. They used to pair it with a salvage denim, and that completes the problem, right? And then they would, why don't you start making them? Because super expensive and we'll have to pay 100% cost when they land in. So we are always like, hey, we get to learn new things, we get to design new patterns, get to get that adrenaline rush that we always get from designing new things, getting them perfected. So we are makers, right? We are makers. We get it from making products, not bringing them to assembly line or automating. That's not how we do stuff. We love to get things done. We love to get our hands dirty. We love to always work on a pattern. That is also a process that we love to do every day. And hence we started on jackets. That was the easiest and most sensible transition because we are already using leather for boots, tags, and everything. And people hence demanded leather jackets. Then salvage denims, wax canvas is something that we've been using since inception of the brand. So hence the wax canvas jacket. And I've been struggling to find good quality products. I wanted to make stuff for myself. Customers said that, hey, pull in our order as well. We love, hence we started.
I am super excited to see what you guys roll out with next. Thank you guys both so much for taking all this time to talk to me. I can't wait to get this thing out and released. This has been the best boot talk I've ever had. My mind is blown. Like I need to seriously contemplate some of the things we talked about. I mean, it hits deep. So thanks to you both. I can't express enough my gratitude and my wishes for your future prosperity.
Anyone watching this, please go to this gentleman's videos page, scroll all the way to the top, right? And start.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. That really means the world to me. I did not know coming into this that you had seen videos going that far back.
Half of our videos, the bags department, the guy, the master artist in the bags department, we have seen the products, take your goods, your taste as a good benchmark for styling, developing all the jackets that you worn through the videos and took the inspirations for the fit. So you're just not one maker who makes goods. You are an inspiration, a very good looking dude in heritage section. And we really take a lot of your styling in it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, truly.
Like a 32-year-old kind of a person, really. Today you told us that you're 40-year-old, but you look 32, 30 years old, man.
Oh man, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you too, you're probably what, 23, 24 years old?
Oh, okay, you're putting my leg now. No, I'm 38.
Well, you both have more hair than me. So, well, guys, thank you so much. I did not realize you watched my channel as much as you do. I can't thank you enough for that, but I am truly honored to know both of you, to have spoken with you guys. I really hope to have you on again whenever there's, exciting new developments. You have my support, you have my respect.
If you're visiting India, come over. We'll have a cup of coffee. Love to take you through it, through how we do it.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to come to India one day. Maybe next year. Maybe the stars will align. That would be awesome. Love to meet you guys in person, and see the workshops, see the showrooms, see all the products. I mean, that would be incredible. I would love that.
Love to have you. We'd
Yeah,
love to have you anytime, man.
absolutely, man. And hey, next time you're in the States, just hit me up. I'm not far from Pennsylvania, so
Yeah.
drive over. We can meet up. Thank you guys both. This has been just amazing. My mind is blown. And there will be a link to Craft and Glory in the description below. Please go check them out. They are one of the coolest new makers out there. They have my full recommendations. So, but thank you guys again. This has been just awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
People have
I wish you guys nothing but the best, and we'll be talking soon.